Is here. Right, we're recording. So hi everyone, welcome to week 4. We are done with the first assignment, and I'm sure you guys are breathing a sigh of relief. And well, no time to take a break, right? We are on to assignment 2. So by the time you guys are doing the assignment, I was already doing the video for it. I hope you guys had a look at it. And that will be helpful for you when you work on assignment 2. So let's just dive in and see what we are going to discuss today. So as usual, we'll go through the where am I. We'll talk about, if you have any questions on assignment 2, let's discuss that. I'll give you some quick broad feedback on assignment 1. Then we discuss a couple of areas with this week's study: marketing funnel, moments of truth, personas, and journey mapping. There is quite a bit. I'll try and minimize some of these. I'd like to actually get on the journey mapping task. If we can't finish this week, we'll actually put it off for next week if that's the case. But there is quite a bit of work here to be done in terms of, for you to understand. It's not that I necessarily need to explain, but then you all did request for me to explain some of these things, so I want to try and take you through some of the finer points of those. Am I sharing my screen?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Yep. Thanks, Admedi. So we are now in week 3. I'm sorry, we are in week 4. We've just crossed the halfway mark. We've got a second assignment coming up, customer journey and opportunities report, which is due on the 2nd of October. That is Sunday next. So time is going to fly, and this assignment is a bit of a bulky one. It's got 1,500 words and also 40% of your mark, so which means there's a little bit more extra work. There's also a little bit of other work that you need to do around journey mapping and all of that stuff, so that will probably take a little bit of your certain time as well. So might be good to do some research and also prepare yourself. So by now, what you should have done is you should have a good understanding of digital marketing, the key tools that are at your disposal, which you can subscribe to, and which you can use as companies. Then understand what each tool achieves, the pluses and minuses, including which target markets you can use to target with that. So it's not necessarily it should be the tool that you need to basically reach that particular target audience, and that's important. Then you should also have a good understanding of the metrics that are used for measurement. This week, we focus on customer journey and mapping the customer journey and linking that to customer decision making. We will also try and talk about using those specific marketing tools to target different aspects of the customer journey. As you know, when we speak about segmentation, one of the key aspects we talk about is about customer stage, right? Especially if they're ready to purchase, then you would use different tools that you would what you would use to create awareness. So in that sense, it plays a key role here as well to look at the customer journey and which state the customer is in, and use different marketing tools to target that part of the journey. You should be now, because we did this last week, you should now have a fair understanding of digital tracers, the different platforms you can use, and also what each of those key aspects in those particular web tools are. Like, for example, if you can use bounce rates and things like that, and then where your traffic is coming from, keywords, those you should be understanding and converting that into insight. So what you get from the reports is basically info or data, and what you're going to do in your interpretation is to turn that into insight for you to draw your analysis or to make decisions. We should be focusing also on identifying the moments of truth, and also then leveraging that to basically try and drive customer loyalty and customer value. And of course, assessment tool requirements, right? So does anybody have any questions on assignment 2? Or is it too early? Oh, Bruna, there you are. Sorry, here. No questions. I presume you haven't read the assignment, you haven't watched the video yet, or too early?
Just started.
Yeah, Nick, you submitted today.
Yep.
Yep. No questions from anybody else?
I guess I had a quick look at the video, and thanks for doing that again. It's very helpful.
No worries.
Just wondering how much, I guess it says there we can use some of the information, I guess, with source for assignment 1. I know the intention is different. You're wanting us to rewrite the intro, although the intro for both assignments seems to be fairly the same.
Yes. So the intro is the only, so in terms of direct information, what you can use, literally if you wanted to word for word would be your intro. But the university has a policy of, you can't self plagiarize, meaning you can't use your own work for a different assignment.
Yeah.
So you had to rewrite it. So since the information is the same, it's just a matter of rewriting some of those words. You can just shuffle those around and that will be fine.
You are expecting almost an infographic diagram approach with this one, right?
Yes, there would be.
We will create an actual map.
Yes,
Yeah.
you will create an actual journey map.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about that today as well. Any questions anymore? Okay, so we'll progress. Yeah, cool. I think, yeah, if that's the case, we might have time for the activity as well. So, quick broad feedback on assignment 1. I must say I'm quite impressed with the level of research done. Most assignments had very good research. On average, I think most assignments had something like about 15 to 16 sources of reference, which is very good. I generally look at, if you use the same company, the company different pages, I look at that as one reference because it essentially is, it should be the company reference that is being used. But you should be, most of you research, but wherever there was a lack of critical analysis, that directly went back to the research. And the moment there is no critical analysis, if I look at the research report, that just shows that there is only like 10 or 12 references, the bare minimum, which means you haven't really read widely. But most of the reports had good referencing. The referencing style was good. There was good research, wide research that came on top in terms of for most of the reports that I've read. I've marked literally everything except for 2 that came in today. I've marked everything else. So I'm referring to those, about 14 or so. Theory usage was quite limited. Some of you used it, some of you didn't. In some it was pronounced, some it wasn't. Ideally, we're looking for the trifecta. Yes, you can use VQAC and a couple of others as well. But if you use theory to discuss and present your information, your analysis, that would have been really good. Remember, why we're doing this is also to kind of link and break up those, the practical aspects and connect that to theory. And when we do that, we break it up. And when we break it up, we can understand better. We're just going into more and more detail, which will help us to understand. Business objectives in most cases were clear, but needed to be aligned to customer acquisition, engagement, and retention, which was kind of lacking. Then there was good visuals of data that was used. So quite a few of you used web tools like we did during week 3, to understand where the traffic was coming from, who the customers were, what the different sources, what kind of marketing channels the company was using, etc. So that was good. But just in some cases, there was just visuals. I think that's not sufficient. So you should support that with your own analysis and words. I spoke about critical analysis. Channel prioritization and measurements was missing in quite a few, right? So that's my broad feedback. What should we be doing from this? So this is for those who are here. All this is, but for this. But once you read your assignment feedback, a couple of things. Now, for some of you, the marks may not be what you expect, but do review the feedback. Just don't look at the mark only. Look at your feedback. Your feedback is important. Compare with what you have done, included in the report, and maybe missed out on. I've provided as detailed feedback as I can. I think for each assignment, I spent about half an hour or more, just because it was most of yours first assignment. So trying to add on as much information as I can. Try and review what you missed out on and evaluate what you've learned this far, not necessarily the mark, what you've gathered on as knowledge and how this can be transitioned onto your work or your practical life, how you can transition that and use that. So I think that's an important aspect. There is, in my opinion, study is two things. It's about grades. It's also about building your knowledge and being able to use that knowledge. So how do you take that on board and use that in a practical scenario where your work is concerned? So I think that's the most important aspect. So think about it. What I also like to tell students is sometimes you may be very good with what you're doing and you may know this area very well, but this is a course of academic study, which means you are learning to present this in line with certain questions asked, in line with certain questions that have been asked. So it needs to meet that criteria. So please remember that. And then how can we build on this for assignment 2? And I think that's really important. That's the key area. And I've left video feedback, trying and focusing on that, what you should be doing with this information to build for assignment 2. And we'll talk about that as we go along. So things like your digital tracers, etc., it'll be really good for you to build on for assignment 2. You also now need to probably go and look into social media in terms of web reviews, etc., on what customer pain points and what their moments of truth are. The second assignment, one of the challenges with assignment 2 is that it can't be done just by looking at the books. You need to do a lot of other things to build on, especially the the web tools, the different marketing platforms. Listen to what customers are saying or try and understand what customers are saying, what are their pain points, etc. Some students take their own experience. Yes, that's good, but also building on what actual customers are saying will make it more practical, and that's one of the aspects that you can. That's one of the ways that you can actually build on from what's available outside and bring that into your assignment. I hope that's clear. Yeah, right. So I think most of us here are traditional marketers. We come from a traditional marketing background. We've heard about this thing about the funnel, right? The funnel is a age-old thing. So we always learned about the funnel as being, 4 or in some case 5 steps that the client goes through: awareness, familiarity, consideration, and then purchase, and then eventually loyalty. Hopefully you would have loyalty, right? But we become very fickle with loyalty now. So loyalty is not something that we can really discuss. Only very few brands can actually have that level of loyalty. And I can only, at the top of my head, I can only think of maybe 2 or 3 brands, nothing more than that. So how does the funnel work? The funnel, I hope I'm not preaching to the converted, but if you look at it, the funnel, the awareness is a situation where customers don't know your brand or suddenly become aware because they're exposed to some kind of communication or somebody talks about it. And they learn about it. They learn about the brand. Maybe they're researching and they learn about the brand. Familiarity is when they start actively searching for that brand. So they become more familiar with that brand. Some will purchase, some will postpone that decision. They will use that to evaluate. They will then go on to the next stage, which is consideration, which is they will probably shortlist that down to 2 or 3 brands. And they will compare. So if you look at this is our old, the discussion with regard to the sets. This is the awareness set, the familiarity set, and the consideration set, and eventually your purchase is just one of it. The thing is, with digital marketing, this entire circuit, this process gets short-circuited. Customers don't necessarily need to go through awareness and familiarity to come into consideration, right? you know, the buyer journey, if you take the buyer journey, when we take segmentation, we talk about segmentation, we talk about behavioral segmentation as one of the aspects. In behavior, we say purchase stage. So purchase stage is when the customer is either ready to purchase or is, you know, aware, or maybe even loyal. But when through digital marketing, what you can do is you can actually short circuit it. So when, let's say, for example, you're not even aware of a brand, but if you do your marketing right through, let's say, for example, search ads, you can actually jump into that stage. You can become part of the customer's consideration set. Maybe the individual will discard your brand, or maybe they'll consider it if they can see that there is value. They might even sometimes postpone the decision, and you can short circuit even loyalty. Look at, I mean, if I take you through, let's say, for example, one particular stage of mine, I was considering buying some t-shirts because we wanted some t-shirts for gym, etc. I saw somebody where I searched, and suddenly this brand came up, and I was almost going to buy. And I came up with this brand. There was a brand that was available, Noble, which was not an Australian brand, it was a US brand. It's not even an Australian product. But then immediately searched about it, and I went in, and then I went into the site. They say, here's 20% off since you're a new customer. I suddenly have a better deal with free shipping on a t-shirt, which is really good for me. And I thought, okay, let me go ahead and buy. Well, not one, but two. Now, that wasn't in my familiarity set, but suddenly became, you know, consideration purchase within a matter of 3-4 minutes. And this brings us to this whole aspect of how fast our customer journeys are. And, you know, the whole process, how this process can be short-circuited by digital marketing. So if you look at the tools that are at our disposal, if you look at this customer journeys, from a window shopper to a first purchase to a repeat customer, loyalty or indecisiveness, look at the tools on a digital stage that you can use and the various channels that you can incorporate. So you have traditional marketing here, you've got online marketing. So sometimes the awareness stage largely was about TV, radio, press. Okay, largely, especially for mass marketed products. But now it's more personal. It's become more, it's pay-per-click or SEO, content marketing, so those ads, and they can actually intrude into the customer's moments and give them different products to evaluate. So suddenly their consideration set becomes much more wider. And if they purchase, then you have another set of tools which you can use to drive loyalty, right, and retain the customer with you. You can actually even have tools which can from that moment where you can drive, like for example, that example that I gave you, where you can immediately offer something to buy. I went into RM Williams that they wanted to buy something. I just left it in the shopping cart because I didn't actually make a decision as such. Next day morning, they sent me a discount. They sent me an email which was targeted saying, hey, Ray, you left something in your shopping cart. Here's a 10% discount for you. So I'm not ready to buy. I haven't really made my decision, but you can push me using digital marketing tools, especially in e-commerce. So conversion, click and collect, and also then, you know, loyalty, engagement. Look at, I mean, I keep talking a lot about RM Williams, but sometimes they would engage through things like, customer stories and heritage and all that kind of aspect, keep them engaged. But on the other hand, you might even have loyalty through, you know, flybys with a brand like Bunnings, which has alternative rewards for you. And all those are visible. What's important is the transparency is pretty high in most of these. And with fulfillment increasingly becoming better, customers actually don't see a risk. There is good security in your payments. There is fast delivery. There is exchange that's possible. So with all of that, people don't see it as being a risk. So it's as good as buying in person unless you want to try something on and then buy. What we need to figure out is this whole aspect of the different stages of the journey and the different tools that we can use. And one of the other things I'll talk in a short while, I'll actually jump into that slide. Look at this. This is something that's not in your, this is not in your content. And I want to talk to you about this. These are called micro moments. If you think about this, this is what we go through. We have little moments where, okay, I'm feeling hungry. Let's say, for example, you come home, you're feeling lazy, you don't want to cook, Bruna, and you might say, you know, I want to eat out, right? You just do a search. If you can find something that suits your palate, can be delivered to you within the next half an hour or so, which is sufficient for you, you'll probably go for it. If you had points or whatever that you can redeem, that's even more better for you, or if you had a voucher, etc. So in that moment, I want to go, I want to do moment, you have that information at your fingertips. What's important here is we'll talk shortly about 0 moments of truth. And that's where this comes in. When you search, the information must be available to you. If your brand is strong, if your digital marketing is good, is robust, then you are going to reach that customer. That customer is ready to buy. It doesn't matter whether the customer knows you or not. I ordered Thai food the other day from a completely unknown restaurant, right? My son ordered actually. So we don't even know that. There is no familiarity. Suddenly you drive purchase. And think about this. When you go by bus or when you go by train, you forgot something. You just want to search that information. And if it's good, you might end up buying it. Think about when you're thinking where your brand is concerned, if your website wasn't mobile optimized for load time, or you know how it appears in terms of how your products are displayed on your website, if it's not optimized for those channels and those moments, then you probably lose out. So you have moments like this. I want to know about this. I want to know what RM Williams is. If I search RM Williams, will that come up? If that comes up, if I click on that, what does the brand have? The brand has my details, which is my cookie. How can you capture me? How can you get more information? You can get more information by asking me to register. Hey, you're looking for this? We have it. Sign up, you get 20% discount. You immediately have my email address, which you can market. Even if not, you have that information which you captured. You can then remarket that product to me through display ads. So you can see that level of dynamism that can come in, especially through micro moments. And if you look at customer journeys, I'll talk about this, there is very high chance that people will get to know your brand, will engage with your brand, and will also buy from you. And this is what we talk about when we discuss this 0 moment of truth. Okay, so I know there was a very theoretical kind of description of what a 0 moment of truth is. The 0 moment of truth is actually linked to these micro moments. So if you look at customer journeys in a very practical sense, we are influenced. I mean, I go to gym, I look at somebody wearing a new pair of shoes and I want to see, hey, what's that pair of shoes? What's that guy wearing? That looks really good. I want to search that. What's that brand? That's a I want to know moment. And that you can transfer into I want to buy. I might not do it immediately, but the brand is 50% stronger because the brand now has my information and they can use that to market. And that's a key consideration for us. So when you go into, I'm sorry for skipping slides, but I just kind of, I couldn't find an order to put which comes first. So I thought I will juggle through and kind of explain. This is a customer journey map. So when you look at the customer journey, what you're looking at is you're looking at the different stages. Okay, awareness, consideration, decision. Let's forget delivery and loyalty for now, but let's just look at these three: the awareness, consideration, and decision. Customer activities. Where do you hear about us from? Right? How did you hear in the awareness stage? Is it a micro moment? Did you hear? Did you see? Okay. What's the customer goal? Maybe at this stage, there is no real awareness. Touch points, maybe the website, if I can search about it. Makes sense. If you have a Facebook page, or if you have an Instagram page, whatever I'm on, depends on the target market that you want to target. If I can find information, yes, if you can give me a discount, yes, I might be a little bit more happier about it, right? But then I should be able to find my size, I should be able to find, the colors that I want, or the flavors that I want, or whatever that I want in that sense. Consideration, what's driving consideration? Again, moved away a little bit more from micro moments, but then you're now looking at, okay, what are my alternatives? What are the other brands that I have? Maybe I have loyalty to certain brands, or maybe I have gift vouchers, or points, or whatever that I can buy. So those also might drive consideration. Sometimes the one is brand loyalty, sometimes familiarity. We are so familiar with brands, we trust those brands. Think about the people who are buying Nike day in, day out for all their fitness needs. They're buying it more or less because of loyalty, nothing else. If you consider brands like Nike versus maybe like Lululemon, some of those clothes are almost the same price, some. But if you look at it, you buy Nike because you're familiar with Nike. Right? So consideration, what drives consideration? Find the solution. Again, look at the different aspects. What are the different touch points? The touch points are there in the company. Will you come into contact with? Most often it might be just a website, but sometimes you might even read up at your consideration stage. You may even be reading reviews. It can be products. It can be productreview.com. It can be CanStar Blue. It can be Facebook reviews, Google reviews, right? So consideration stage, those will drive. This is also a moment where they come into the store and probably, examine it, physically take a look at it and see how that fits. And again, think about this. If you have, if your omni-channel, I'm stepping into assignment 3 here, but I just want to talk about, if your omni-channel is strong, if your omnichannel strategy is strong, what are you going to do? You're going to immediately be able to convert that customer into a sale. If you tell the customer, hey, I found the correct, if the customer tells you, I found this correct size, can I buy this? But I've got a $20 discount voucher sitting for me on my computer. And the salesperson says, oh, that's for online. You can't really use that in store. Then what happens? Customer is disappointed. You've lost that moment. The customer might even go into buying somebody else's product. But if you can say, hey, that's fine, I can encash, I can give you that discount, you then and there you close the sale. In a stage or in a environment where customers are bombarded with information and with different offers, getting that customer to commit his money, open up his wallet, pay for it then and there is more important for a marketer, right? And that's your key. Right, driving that purchase, and that's important for you. So again, decision, how would you drive this? How would you drive this? In terms of, what will drive decision? Is it about discounts? Is it about, just purchasing it because they see it as value? But again, consider the touch points, maybe physical store, maybe online website or app. Consider the customer sentiment in all of these stages. So they're happy. What's important here is you should be able to demonstrate this in a visual sense. It's important to understand the customer journey in a visual sense. It's important to understand the customer experience and the sentiment also in a visual sense. The whole idea of doing a journey map is to visualize the customer journey. So when you do this, what are you doing? You're actually visualizing it for you. Then okay, this is a pain point. This in delivery, customers are very upset. They're frustrated. There is a point of friction here. How can we ease this? How can we resolve this? Bruna's experience with Qatar Airways, I thought was brilliant. Right? How can we turn this around? How can we change this? Because at this moment, if you lose the customer, he might never come back again. If they didn't resolve that issue for you, you will not probably fly with them ever again. Oh no, not this airline, never. It's our mistake. Yes, but we don't remember our mistake. We remember what they didn't do for us. And you say, they never fixed it for us. So you're probably going to stay out of it. Think about all of those. And then the other area to think about is, how can we use digital tracers to understand these aspects? Again, where are your customers coming from? How are they finding your business? How are they researching? What devices? From where? Maybe even what times, etc., of the day that is driving traffic to your website or to your, to your particular page that you're considering, maybe a landing page, etc. Where do they run into, points of friction? Where do they find it difficult? Website loading, purchase, finding items. If they're leaving products unpurchased, why is that? Aspects like that. Where are their pain points? Delivery, where are customers complaining? So to understand snags and pain points, you should be looking at their socials, you should be looking at their reviews, you should be looking at independent research. Maybe sometimes even your own experience can be tied into this. But again, when you look at those channels and those particular areas or tools, you'll find there is plenty of evidence that people are finding, they are finding it as being pleasing experience, a great experience, or something that's not too good. But also remember, take it with a pinch of salt. A lot of people who are happy don't really give feedback. The ones who are annoyed are the ones who give feedback, right? So you might want to take that with a pinch of salt, but on the other hand, it also gives you really good information as to where customers are finding it painful in the customer journey. So the journey, and you can use this to drive, to identify issues with delivery, loyalty, all of that. There is a second part to this, but I didn't bring that in because it's not really important for us at this stage, what the company needs to do, etc. For your journey map, for the assignment, if you do this part, it's more than sufficient. What's important is, what I want to stress on is the ability to read the journey map. When you put it in the assignment, it must be readable. So please make sure that that is the case. Else it becomes kind of meaningless to drop it in there. I think we covered some of these. Where do we stand? 8 o'clock. Yeah, we can still go ahead. The other area to consider is the persona. So when you look at the journey map tells us, gives us key information about the customer journey. But to work on this, we also need to know who the customer is. Okay, so developing a persona before you develop the journey map becomes important. Now, I know that's not said in your assignment, but a journey map generally is accompanied by a persona. Now, it doesn't have to be. This is from Roy Morgan Helix persona. So this is aspirationals. Okay, the 2.7 million Australians in this category. Okay, one of the largest categories. So you have a thought cloud, which means you have key thinking that you can draw into your persona. What are they interested by? Okay, household income 100,000. Again, it depends which one it is. Now, most of you did refer to the Roy Morgan Helix personas, which I thought was very good. But you don't have to go this deep. And this is somewhat something of a kind of an easier to describe persona. These aspects ideally should get covered. And then that gives us better insight into the customer's journey. Okay. What I want to also tell you is, when you, like, for example, if you take in a practical sense, if you consider, let's say you're marketing a product, and in that sense, if you can't market it to anybody, you have a set of customers whom you're going to sell it to. This is my customer segment, and it's important that you identify this, right? This is kind of like a more visualized way of looking at who your customer segment is, what their interests are, what they're looking for, where they can be found, how they're searching for information, what they appreciate, what they find frustrating, right? And what makes them happy. So when you do that, you can actually plan your customer journey, I'm sorry, not customer journey. When you look at that, through that you can look at the customer journey and plan your touch points, your responses, your strategies, all of those very well. I think I've spoken long enough.
I've got a question.
Yes,
Ray?
Bess.
Say you're wanting to do get data about the personas, about the attributes, and all these relevant KPIs or the attributes is probably a better word. Is there a like a known source we could go and look at it, like apart from the ABS?
Yeah, Roy Morgan Helix personas.
Okay.
I'll drop it in the chat. Download it if you can. I've got a PDF copy because I've got a PDF copy. They have.
Is that in general as well, not just about persona, but also about say profile of a company, a profile of a segment of a
not really. So Roy Morgan will be able to give you detailed information about Helix personas, but beyond that, I don't know anybody else. Maybe there are others, but I'm not too sure if anybody else has that kind of information. Here you go, pass. I think this should reach
thank
you.
you.
Download this. It's fairly large. It's taking a little bit of time to load. It's about 50 MB. But that's something you can use. Does anybody else know anybody else who does information of segments like this? No?
I haven't looked yet.
Okay. This is quite detailed, yeah.
Because in the assignment that I was trying to find like a go-to place where it have like everything, even if like, because I'm thinking like if I wanted to do research for a client, is there like well, it seems like it's whatever you can find by doing a keyword search on the subject. Is that normally how it's done, or is there like a resource that you could go to?
Not really, Pass. There is no perfect place to find all the information you want. You find personas generally is Roy Morgan. If you want company industry info, you've got IBIS. You've got a couple of others. I can't remember. I can run you through some of those sources. I think we ran through one or two the other day. That's one. If you also want to read about specific industries and some of those ratings, etc., Cancer Blue does reports from time to time on certain industries and certain products. You can look at those as well. That's all I know of.
Okay.
ABS information, you got to structure most of it for yourself.
Right. Okay. Great. Thank you.
No worries. Any other questions? So if you don't want to do a complex journey map like this, this is another way of doing it. This is a much more simpler journey map. It's much more straightforward. It's much more easier. Again, you've got the persona, you've got a visualization of the customer journey, you've got the stages. So here they've used different stages. This is for travel. So again, you can use this. You can highlight this. You can identify key points. But I think this is a little. This is extremely basic, but it's good enough to understand key aspects. Try and look at things like touch points, which is important, and how the company is discovering you. Those would be really important, because if you're going to use the digital tracers to bring out that analysis, then you would obviously have that information, which you will find. If you want journey map templates, there is some on this website. There are different journey map templates. I think by far this is the best one. Although this is pretty detailed, there is another equal number of rows on the bottom of this, which I kind of cut off. But you can use that if you wanted to. This is another one. Miro also has journey maps. This is available free if you want. Even I'll leave a link where you can join in using my profile, and you can download links if you can actually develop a journey map on Miro. I was actually going to do a journey map with you today on Netflix, but I think we won't have time. We've done a lot of work today. I'll probably discuss that with you next week, and next week we'll jump straight into this, because next week you've got very limited learning content. We'll have a little bit more time to understand the customer journey and do a little bit more work around that. And since we're doing it on Tuesday, that will still give you sufficient amount of time to work on that. The other thing is the different stages of the journey map. Can I just ask you this? Are you guys okay if we skip this exercise for today and do it next week?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because to do this, it has to be a little bit more meaningful. We have to have a little bit more time for us to do it, then unwrap it and discuss and do all that. What I'll do is I'll leave the, I actually changed the journey. I changed the Miro board for this. I had 2 different boards. I have only one board now, and I'll put that in the announcement for today when I send the recording. So you can jump in and do this if you wanted to as well. Or you can become familiar and we can discuss it next week. Best thing is we'll do it next week in class. So become a little familiar, look at the different areas. What I've done is I've given you 2 different profiles. One is a young, as a person who lives in the city, first time job, just entered the workforce, kind of like, in corporate, and the other is a more, affluent, wealthy person, but largely A-tech, right? Again, an older lady who generally likes to read, but somebody has told about Netflix. So again, try and develop a journey map for them. I know your time is busy. You're going to have a lot of time that you're going to have to spend on your assignment. But take a look at this. That might be something you want to look at. So when you give consideration to those different areas, then you can think, okay, fine, I can put this into my assignment, or I can build my journey map this way. Just go back to the different stages of developing a journey map. So again, starts with knowing who your customer is. Why would they come to you? Who are they? What are they doing? What are they looking for? Where are they looking for information, etc.? Define the broad general stages. It can be consideration, evaluation, purchase, whatever. All those, or it might be even different stages that you want to look at. Attach goals to each stage. What's the customer looking for at that point? Customer profile again becomes relevant. Then look at the different touch points. What are the key touch points the customer will meet as part of the journey? It can be online, their website, an app, somebody giving a testimonial, somebody coming into the store, testing it out, a store person, etc. All of those. So at all of those levels, consider different touch points. Sometimes it might be even the guy who does the delivery. Okay. Identify drop-off points where the customer can actually drop off, especially due to frustration. I mean, if you look at your journey, if you look at you buying something, I always tell this: if the customer cannot, easily find what they're looking for, they're going to drop the search. Right? You just drop off. You say, okay, I can't do this now. I've got something else urgent, because our time is so fragmented, right? We're like split between 1,001 things that each of us are doing. So I know I look at something else. I suddenly, our attention spans, like, I think our attention span is worse than that of a goldfish right now. So, which is something like around 7 seconds or something like that. So we tend to drop off, and that is a point. So making, information easily findable and making that path to purchase as easy as possible is the way that the journey goes. So if you can make that easy for the customer, that becomes very relevant. If you can get other users' feedback, like net promoter scores, testimonials, interviews with customers who bought your products, send them surveys, see what they're saying, all that kind of stuff. Customer-facing staff feedback as well. Again, those are important. And then, look where and what you can improve on and build. So these are the different steps. Ideally, most of you will go through this journey mapping process in order to build this, and that will give you a good understanding. And I don't know how some of you will just kind of manage to tie things along, but I think most of you will do well in terms of going through these stages and evaluating the customer journey. I mean, even looking at assessment 1, some assignments are very, very, very complex, especially in the analysis, looking at the different tools. And I can see sometimes the assignment itself doesn't have too much of content, but the annexures has so much of work that is being done. I try and give recognition to most of those as much as possible. So, well, what do you know? For the first time in my life, for teaching about MIT, I finished early. Is that all right with you? Yep. So next week when we come in, we'll work on the journey map. We'll get that going. You can do some of your review and research work, and then we can come in and talk about the journey map next week. Bruno, you said something. Personas are usually an internal resource that has been put together by internal data and organizational knowledge. Yes, but not entirely as well. So if you take companies like Roy Morgan, they develop personas for you. So there are pre-built personas. They're much more detailed. They're much more researched. So companies need to identify who those segments, which persona they're targeting or which segment they're targeting, and through that they can do that as well. Yes, you're correct. In a sense, there was a time that we used to develop our own personas. Yeah, we used to be able to identify and do that, but you don't really have to do that anymore. Does anybody have any questions? I will be sending a short survey to you guys tomorrow. Just to this is not the university survey, this is my own survey, just to understand how everything's tracking, whether I can do any changes, etc., at least for assignment 2 and assignment 3 for you, to make that easy for you. And I'll send that across just a little bit more time, but it will probably take you 5 minutes. At the end of the term, university will have a different survey. That's for the university entirely. This is for me, so that I can try and build on certain things. And also use for my reflection, which I need to write at the end. Okay. I'll hang around. If anybody has any questions, we can have a chat. I'm hoping that I can get your marks across to you by Friday. Everybody has a holiday on Thursday. I'm hoping I can get it wrapped before that. Tomorrow is generally a very busy day for me, but I'll try and wrap up all the assignments by end of day tomorrow, latest, or Thursday morning. Then the unit coordinator goes through the marks, and probably will agree to release them on Friday or latest being Saturday.
Thank you, Ray.
No worries. So I'll hang around. If you have any questions, again, we can talk. Other than that, I'm going to stop the recording.
Ray, I've just got one question.